I hope everybody's doing well today. Uh, so today for civil engineering and architecture, we are going to talk about 1.1.2, which is the design principles and elements. So when you go into 1.1.2, we will have the PowerPoint, and then I will also, once I have this video done, it will be uploaded here too. So we're going to go into the PowerPoint. And this is the principles and elements of design applied to architecture. So the visual design elements that we're going to talk about are 6 integral components used in the creation of a design. We have line, color, form, and shape, space, texture, value. Now, with lines, we actually have 4 different types of lines. We have vertical lines that represent dignity, formality, stability, and strength. Horizontal lines represent calm, peace, and relaxation. Diagonal lines represent action, activity, excitement, and movement. And then curved lines represent freedom, natural being, having the appearance of softness, and it creates a soothing feeling or mood. So when architects, designers, civil engineers, when they start to create their stuff, they want to give you a feeling from seeing their building, and this is one of the ways they do that. So some examples of vertical lines: we have the Empire State Building, we have the Brandenburg Gate in Berlin, and then here's a skyscraper, Madrid in Spain. So the Empire State Building in New York is an international landmark. It's an excellent example of the architectural style known as Art Deco. So some horizontal lines that represent the calm and peace and relaxation. On the left-hand side, we've got a building that really kind of has perfect horizontal lines. And then on the right, we have the Community Christian Church in Kansas City, Missouri, which is kind of an iconic building because it was designed by architect Frank Lloyd Wright in 1940. Here's some examples of diagonal lines. The upper right image is the Octavio Frias de Oliveira Bridge in Sao Paulo, Brazil. It's a cable-stayed suspension bridge that opened in 2008. It's the only bridge in the world that has 2 curved approaches supported by a single concrete mast. Here's some examples of the curved lines, and the Sydney Opera House in Australia is one of the most iconic or most recognizable of the buildings that have this. Color. Color has an immediate and profound impact on design. It's just one of the most important things that architects, designers, civil engineers have to pick out. Color really grabs your eye, and it really makes things kind of have a lasting memory. So with colors, we have warm colors, which are reds, oranges, and yellows. And then we have cool colors, which are blues, purples, and greens. Colors can affect how humans feel and act. So with form and shape, they very similar but yet different. Form, think of more as a 3D. The shape and structure of something and how it's distinguished from its substance or material. Whereas shape is more 2D. It's the 2-dimensional contour that characterizes an object or area. Form can also be described as the composition of geometric shapes. Shape can be described as the contour, profile, or silhouette of a structure. So on the left, we have the Oriental Tower or Oriental Pearl Tower. It's a television tower in Shanghai, and it has 15 observatory levels, a revolving restaurant. Its design includes 11 spheres, large and small. The two largest spheres, which are what you can see in the picture, they have diameters of 164 feet, that's the lower sphere, and then 148 feet, which is the upper sphere. The design is based on the Tang Dynasty poem, Pippa Song, by Bai Zhui, about the wonderful sprinkling sound produced by a pipa instrument, like pearls, big and small, falling on a jade plate. Space, by incorporating the use of space in a design, you can enlarge or reduce the visual space. So we have three types. We have open, which is uncluttered spaces. We have cramped, which seems like more busy spaces. And then we have unused versus good use of space. Texture. It's basically the surface of a structure. It's the look or feel of something. So you have smooth and you have rough. Your smooth surfaces reflect more light and therefore is a more intense color. Rough surface absorbs more light and therefore appears darker. So the glass facade of a high-rise building has that really smooth look. All glass does. And then the exterior metal facade of the Disney Concert Hall in Los Angeles. So some rough texture would be these pillars made of stone, or even the wooden shingles on a roof. Value is the relative lightness or darkness of a color. There's different ways, different methods to get the value that you want. Shade is kind of the degree of darkness, and then tint is a pale or faint variation of a color. So here's some buildings in downtown Bangalore, India, that shows some different values of blue and green. Okay, so now we're going to talk about the visual design principles. There are 7 principles that encompass an interesting design. We have balance, rhythm, emphasis, proportion and scale, movement, contrast, and lastly, unity. So balance basically says that parts of the design are equally distributed to create a sense of stability. Both physical and visual balance exist. So with balance, we've got 5 different types. We've got symmetrical, which is also formal balance, asymmetrical, which is also informal balance, radial balance, vertical balance, and horizontal balance. So with symmetrical or formal balance, the elements within the design are identical in relation to a center line or axis. So here's a picture of the Taj Mahal. If we cut it right down the middle, both sides would almost mirror each other. That's a form of symmetrical or formal balance. Asymmetrical or informal balance, parts of the design are not identical, but they're equal in visual weight. So with this, it's got the same roof types, but they're a distance apart from the main section. They're both kind of boxy, but they're very similar. So that would give it asymmetrical or informal balance. Radial balance is just the design elements radiate outward from the center. So looking at these, it's more circular. and everything just kind of comes out from a center in kind of a round or circular design. So vertical balance, the top and bottom parts are equal. This one, the vertical balance is achieved here by the reflection of the building in the water. So you literally would cut that in half at the water line, and then say that these have vertical balance. Horizontal balance, the parts on the left and right sides are equal. So once again, kind of like we did with the Taj Mahal, we cut it in half, and your left and right side is equal. So this is the first floor plan of St. Basile's Cathedral. If you ignore the 3 entrances on the floor plan, it is going to show radial balance. Even though it's not completely circular, you can kind of see that everything is real close to being identical as they radiate out from the center. So radial balance doesn't necessarily have to have be in a circle, it's just more times than not it is. Rhythm. So rhythm is the repeated use of line, shape, color, texture, or pattern. And we have 4 types of rhythm. We have regular rhythm, graduated rhythm, random rhythm, and gradated rhythm. So regular rhythm, there's an element that's repeated at the same repetition, same interval each time. Random rhythm, basically the beats of the element are random or irregular. So here we're talking about the domes of St. Basile's Cathedral, and they're different and they're kind of in different areas, but there is a random rhythm to them. Gradated rhythm is the repeated element is identical with the exception of one detail increases or decreases gradually with each repetition. So with this stack of rocks right here, you can see as it gets higher, each one gets smaller. And then same thing with this, the Chinese tower in English Gardens, Munich, Germany. As it gets higher, each level gets just a little bit smaller. So emphasis. And emphasis is the feature and design that attracts your eye. It's the focal point. It's just eye-catching. It wants to grab your attention. Emphasis can be achieved through size, placement of something, a shape, color, use of lines. So here we have the Baha'i Gardens in Haifa, Israel. So the domed building is in the distance is what's kind of emphasized here. And the reason for that is A, the building is located centrally horizontally. All the lines, you see the walkway, the palm trees, all the trees, everything just kind of leads up to the building. And so that makes the building really the focus point. Proportion and scale. So comparative relationships between elements in a design with respect to size. So they say that the 3:5 ratio is known as the golden mean. So what we have here is, because of its height, the Washington Monument is the most prominent structure in Washington, D.C. And next to it, you see the Lincoln Memorial, and then the U.S. Capitol building is in the background. So looking at it, we know that the Capitol building isn't really that small compared to the Lincoln Memorial. We're just talking about proportion movement, which is just the flow or feeling of action. And we kind of talked about the curved lines, the wavy lines. They create that feeling of action or of movement. Then contrast. It's just something that's noticeably different, and you can create contrast with color, proportion and scale, shape, texture, any of those elements. Unity is achieved by the consistent use of lines, color, material, or even the texture within a design. If we look at the building on the left, there's not really a lot of balance, but the one thing is that the unity is the brick. It's a brick building. It brings everything together. As you can see, we talked about this. It has unity. This has unity. They all have the balance. It really just, a lot of these can have more than one thing, and most of them do have more than one thing. They have more than one principle. They have more than one element. So remember that when you go through and you look at these buildings, realize that they have more than one. It's not just one or the other, or, one only. Guys, I hope you have learned something from this, and I want you guys to have a good day, and let me know if you have any questions. Thank you.